And Bayan-U.S.A, my organization, is very proud to be co-sponsor of this national tour. We will be participating in other cities where the tour delegates will be traveling to. In thinking about the notion of building people power here in the United States, the #1 imperialist superpower in the world, and the role of democratic struggles here in the US in order to upset and frustrate that system. I just want to share a story of yesterday, just yesterday, a group of us Asian immigrant organizations here in the New York City area, Bayan-U.S.A, CAV, Organizing Asian Communities, and Nododol for Korean Community Development. We held a joint study at the CUNY Grad Center on the NATO and on G8, because everyone knows that those two entities are going to be meeting in May in the United States. So we thought it was important to educate ourselves on the history of NATO and the G8. And in the course of that session, and also with so many from the anti-war movement telling us that we need to organize and participate because the Obama administration has announced that it has going to shift, quote unquote shift, its new defense strategy to the Asia-Pacific region. I think really, first of all, it's news, it's big news. It also, for me, is a measure of where we are as a movement here in the US. The fact that we're calling it new is also a temperature check on where we are in terms of our consciousness of US imperialism. Because really, the US military never left the Asia-Pacific region. It's not new, you know, and it may not be the focus of a US war of aggression, declared war of aggression, but it is the presence of heavy military bases. The US Pacific Command is the largest global command of all the global commands, and it's also the most expensive global command. When we're talking about the budget, so much of the US budget goes into the US Pacific Command. And I'm talking in the form of bases, secret bases, and counterinsurgency operations, military exercises. And these are things that directly relate to austerity measures here in this country. And we really, when we were studying this, we said it's incumbent upon us as Asian immigrants here in the United States to really bring this to the conversation here. Because the building a US anti-imperialist movement can't just be about, honestly, to be quite frank, it can't just be about opposing wars of aggression. It has to be also about opposing economic plunder and neoliberalism. If it doesn't address those things, we're not seeing the whole picture. We're not being as comprehensive as we should be, and we're not really identifying what imperialism is. How can we fight an enemy that we are not even clearly identifying to ourselves and to the people? So in uniting on a set of demands, and we are wholeheartedly a part of this process, in uniting on a set of demands to build people power here in the United States, I think on the behalf of my group, we really want to bring the conversation of free trade agreements, bases and militarization, economic aid, and monopoly agribusiness, and how this affects how massive suffering of people all over the world because of manufactured poverty. Poverty is man-made. It is not a condition of, you know, an area of a third world. It is man-made. It is made by US foreign policy. And as much as people die of wars of aggression, many more people die from poverty and hunger because they can't find jobs, because their land has been converted and cannot provide for them anymore. And I think part of being internationalist, I think we have to really insert the international perspective here as we build this movement. Because being internationalist doesn't mean dichotomizing what's local and what's global. It just means linking and raising our local struggles to a global context. And that's what being anti-imperialist is all about, we believe. And so, what does that look like? It doesn't mean that you have to leave the country. It means you have to fight the democratic struggles being waged here. But if those democratic struggles, like, for housing or against racism, for immigrant rights, are contained in their own separate boxes and not linked to a global context, then we are not doing our job as decisive forces here in the United States to contribute to the world anti-imperialist struggle.